The International Court of Justice will today deliver an interim ruling in South Africa's genocide case against Israel. The court is not dealing with the merits of the broader allegation of genocide at this stage and will only rule on South Africa's request for emergency measures to protect Palestinians from potential breaches of the Convention on Genocide. Let's cross now to our correspondent at The Hague, Stuart Smith. Stuart, a very good morning to you. Let's talk at the beginning about what the effects of a ruling in favour of the South African government would look like.
Yeah, so in around 6 hours' time, over a dozen judges here will make their decision, first of all, whether this case can be brought at all under the United Nations genocide legislation, and then going from there into the various 9 points that the South African prosecution has brought related to the way Israel has conducted itself in what it describes as an anti-terror operation against Hamas, an operation which so far has killed over 25,000 in Gaza in response to the Hamas terror attack against Israel in October. What these judges will be doing is, with that preliminary judgment, telling Israel that it may have to stop if the risk is potential that there is a genocide taking place. The bar is not like a criminal court where beyond all reasonable doubt has to be the measure. The judges will be looking as to whether it's plausible that genocide may be happening, and from there making its ruling. But we know already that Israel has said it's not going to listen to the decision of the court, meaning that even if the court finds on the main point that genocide is not plausible, even on the perhaps less important points from in terms of the legal repercussions, Israel may still find itself in hot water if even one of those points, those 9, are ruled against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has described this situation as one he's not going to respond to. And also, we know in the United States, Israel's biggest ally, there are those in Congress, a bipartisan committee, has said also that the US should not listen to the ruling by the ICJ.
And this is where I suppose the question comes in about this actual ruling and the weight it holds, because at the end of the day, we've heard from Netanyahu that he's not going to abide by anything, and things will continue as they are continuing. So one has to ask what the point is and the repercussions if they do not abide by whatever the ruling that comes out of today is.
Yeah, the Peace Palace behind me is known as the World Court, set up by the United Nations to allow states to take other states to court. But of course, that means they can't send the bailiffs round. They can't arrest a country. Once the ICJ has made its decision, it is legally binding, to be sure, and states have to follow it under international law. But ultimately, they are countries, and the mechanisms by which that can be enforced are few. The United Nations Security Council has ways to enforce rulings, such as through sanctions, such as also through military force, but it's not clear whether that would happen with the United States, one of the key members that can veto any decision on the United Nations Security Council. In addition to that, though, there are other mechanisms that could put Israel under pressure, such as if a ruling is made here that says Israel should cease hostilities or even take any action to change the way it's conducting this anti-terror operation. There could come pressure from allies, more pressure from countries in the region, and it makes it harder for allies to support what Israel is doing. But ultimately, it can ignore the judgment while that preliminary decision, even if it does go against Israel.
Just, I suppose, a question that a lot of people are asking themselves. Why did Israel actually appear before the ICJ and go and give their version of events if, in fact, their feeling is that it doesn't matter which way it goes, they're not going to abide by it anyway? And I suppose that's a question that many would be asking. Why defend yourselves when it doesn't really matter because you're going to do what you want anyway?
Yeah, well, for Israel's point of view, this could still go in its direction. There is still a chance that in 6 hours' time, the court dismisses all of the allegations that the South African prosecutors have brought to the court. And for Israel, that would be a major diplomatic success. It would feel that it has the ability to continue the operation in the way it has been doing. It would feel vindicated that its anti-terror operation against Hamas is the right thing to be doing. What, of course, though, the court is doing here, to be sure, is not making a moral or ethical decision. It's looking at international law, a key component of which is Israel's right under Article 51 to self-defense. It says that what it is doing is allowed explicitly under international law because there is a threat to Israel, a threat which Hamas still says it maintains, and therefore it has the right to self-defense. That will be at the heart of the legal argumentation going on here.
All right, just as I let you go, is there word? Obviously, there has been a lot of word around in terms of how many are seeing this going. What is the sense on the ground? Are there any speculations at this point ahead of what the ruling will be?
Yeah, I've asked international lawyers this exact question, and none of them are willing to say. Most of them are saying it really could go either way. There is no assumption about how this could go. There is some uncertainty as to whether Israel's actions do constitute genocide. It's a loaded term. It's a term which has a strict definition under international law, and it requires a certain degree of deliberation about it, intention. But apart from that, really no lawyers I've spoken to are willing to say either way.
All right, let's leave it there. Thanks very much for talking to us. That's our correspondent who is in The Hague.